Man Up, a program dedicated to inspiring and helping men live lives of heroic virtue. And now, it's time to Man Up.
Welcome to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. We are broadcasting on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network. I am Joe Stopulos, and today I am excited to have on Joe Carroll from the Lyceum Movement to discuss their next big event, the Tallgrass Des Moines Festival of Ideas, coming up here in a couple weeks. Let us start in prayer in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. The Lyceum Movement, something I've talked about multiple times now. I've had Nathan Beacom on as well to discuss the genesis of it and where it came from. So we'll dive into a little bit of that as well. I'll give you a little background on it. But what I'm really wanting to talk about is the upcoming event they have here on the second weekend in August 9th and 10th. I had the privilege to go last year just for a snippet of time to the what they call the Festival of Ideas. It's their big event every year. And it was a great event. I wish I could have stayed longer. Again, I have obligations as a father and a husband that don't allow me to do a lot of these things. But it was time well spent, and I wish I could do more of it. And I'm disappointed I can't go this year because I'm out of town. But I think it's a very important thing for us as we consider this idea of community. When we think of this idea of growing together as a community, so there's kind of like a few parts to what I think the Lyceum is important for. One is building that community around us, but then B, also furthering our education, right? Wrestling with tough ideas. I think so often people get so, especially in the world today with Twitter and Facebook and Fox News and MSNBC, it's so easy to get into an echo chamber and to not listen to ideas that are outside of our own minds and outside of what we already believe. And so things like the Lyceum Movement help us to ponder big things, to ponder big ideas. And so we'll have Joe Carroll on the other side of the break to discuss the Lyceum and, most importantly, the Festival of Ideas coming up here in a couple weeks. Stick around. We're headed to a short break, and we'll be right back.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Des Moines, where empowering individuals and strengthening families have been the cornerstone of care for a century. Services for neighbors in need include a food pantry, professional counseling, emergency family shelter, and refugee resettlement. At Catholic Charities, lives are transformed, and you can be part of the mission. To learn more about how to help Catholic Charities fulfill Christ's promise of help and hope, visit CatholicCharities.org.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from Westgate Dental, offering cosmetic, family, implant, and general dentistry. Located at 1073rd Street, Suite 1 in West Des Moines, just behind Dowling Catholic High School. Learn more at westgatedentalia.com.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Subway, located at 200 Army Post Road in Des Moines. Subway Catering offers custom subs, drinks, chips, and cookies all in one place. Order online and they'll do the rest. Learn more at jbsubs.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the law offices of Amanda T. Adams. Catholic-owned and operated, Amanda offers comprehensive estate planning services, including living wills, trusts, and probate. Learn more at amandatadamsjdlaw.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production.
Confluence Brewing Company, a former homebrewer's dream, is now a hub where great things come together. Situated south of Grays Lake and easily accessible via the bike trail in Des Moines. Thank you, Confluence Brewing Company, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for programming provided by John Leonetti here with an invitation to join me on the Great Saints Pilgrimage to Rome and Assisi, October 7th to the 16th. Walk in the footsteps of the saints where miracles unfolded and history was made. Learn more at pilgrimagetorome.com.
My help comes from you. You're right here.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. Excited today to have on Joe Carroll from the Lyceum, which is having their big event, the Festival of Ideas, coming up here, in a couple weeks. And I wanted to have Joe on to discuss not just the Lyceum Festival of Ideas, but the Lyceum in general. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. Great to be with you.
Well, I've had episodes on Lyceum before, so hopefully our listeners, our dedicated listeners, will have an idea of what it is. That said, it's probably good to maybe give a little refresher for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar. Joe, give us an idea of what is the Lyceum.
Yeah, we are a school for neighborly life. We're trying to build a better public conversation, and we're trying to do that in a way that's fun and engaging and enriching. So our main form of programming is we get some local experts or speakers together for panel discussion on some kind of local topic that engages with big ideas. So things like, how do we do local democracy well? What do we owe the local environment? Questions about artificial intelligence, technology, the meaning of work, and sometimes fun stuff like, what does Iowa nice mean? And we do all that with good food and drinks, and also the opportunity to participate. So it's a little bit like a TED Talk, but better because the audience gets to be part of it.
It's just a higher brow TED Talk. That's what I would say.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's really, for me, Joe, one of the cool things with the Lyceum is, we can talk a little bit more about the history of it, but I view the Lyceum as something that it's like an extension of college almost, where you see this in, I have friends of mine who are in Washington, D.C. and friends in New York and in big college towns where you'll have some of this going on. I had the opportunity to go to Hillsdale recently, and there's just all of these kind of public events where people are proposing ideas, and you're talking through these ideas together. And I think, wow, Des Moines' been lacking that. In comes you guys kind of resurrecting this idea of a Lyceum. Give quickly the history of what the Lyceum is.
Yeah, so it's two things, or two institutions that inspired us. One is the original school of philosophy in Athens that Aristotle founded. And I guess it was more than a school of philosophy. In the old sense, that just meant kind of everything under the sun, from the natural sciences to logic to what we think about as philosophy now. And the second thing that we're trying to help revive and honor the tradition of is another institution called the Lyceum that was started by a Connecticut farmer in the 19th century, a guy named Josiah Holbrook. And his goal was to get big ideas to people outside big cities or big universities with the corridors of power. And you could come to a local Lyceum, listen to a lot of great speakers and thinkers and writers just talk about what was on their mind. And we had great speakers from Frederick Douglass to Mark Twain that made the lecture circuit. Lincoln's first public speech was at the Illinois Young Men's Lyceum. You can look that up. It's got its own Wikipedia page. So there's a great tradition that goes all the way back to the Greeks and to the early days of the American Republic. And so we're trying to put a new twist on that, but we're committed to a lot of the same fundamental mission, which is, as you mentioned, learning, but doing so in a fun, accessible way. So it's not just a seminar on the nature of justice, but let's start from something concrete and tell stories and hear about how these ideas impact people's lives, and then just kind of effervesce from there.
I had read multiple books in a row last year where the Lyceum came up, and it was like, one was a Frederick Douglass biography. Another one might have been Life in the Mississippi by Mark Twain. I swear there were two or three that hit me in a row where the Lyceum came up. I'm like, this is just kind of hilarious, as like, you guys are building this thing here in Des Moines, and it's happened. I'm reading more and more about it. So let's talk about you. I've talked with Nathan on this, and you are a new voice to my show on the Lyceum. What is your involvement, and how did you get involved with Lyceum?
Yeah, so I'm my title is I'm the deputy director of the Des Moines chapter of the Lyceum, which I think of as global headquarters. So most of what I do is keep the chapter here running. So we both obviously have stuff in Des Moines, and we serve as the mothership for the other chapters around the region. I got involved with it because, I'm good friends with our founder, Nathan, whom you mentioned, has been on the show before and hopefully familiar to listeners. We're both Des Moines boys, grew up here, loved Iowa, and had a love of learning big ideas, philosophy. We both studied that in college. And eventually one day when Nathan was kind of percolating on this idea, he came to a couple of the friends of mine and said, I'm thinking about this thing. What do you guys think of it? And I thought, this is awesome. I was in grad school at the time, working on my PhD before I left and moved back to town. and was initially just a sounding board for him, and then had the opportunity to stay involved with it and continue to promote it and actually try to help build the mission.
So why are you so passionate about it that you are, that you're actually being in the role that you're in today? Because obviously you have a day job, so this is an extra thing you're doing. What drives you to want to tell people about the Lyceum and to grow it?
Yeah, well, so like I mentioned, I was in graduate school, so I always kind of had a love of teaching and talking about ideas with people. And some of what I wanted to do was just continue to find a place in my life where I could do that. I could share it with interested people. And a lot of my students were wonderful. But one of the things that I found has been a particular joy doing what we do is our audience is a little more self-selected. They don't have to come to class. They choose to come talk about these things and have a good time. But part of the bigger mission, just speaking for myself and not for the organization, was that, I'm a little bit of a political nerd, and I follow local politics pretty closely, care a lot about civics and elections, the law. And I think that something that I've noticed, and I'm sure a lot of other people have noticed as well, is that our political culture, and particularly our ability to have good discussions with each other, has degraded. And one problem I think we have is that a lot of people treat politics like entertainment, and we look at our local officials like good guys and bad guys, and we approach things through a culture war lens rather than the important work that we do, just getting by together and building out what we're going to do as a community. And so that was something I wanted to try to help foster with the Lyceum, was let's create space for people to discuss, to have a dialogue, and to be able to try to build a better political conversation. But I didn't think we'd be able to do that if we can't model being able to talk agreeably with each other, or to disagree agreeably.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when you look at like the Tocqueville talking about what created America, what made America strong, was these communities, right? So strong communities were kind of the bedrock of America. And I think if you've read any Robert Putnam or you've looked around, you'll see that those communities are breaking down. The level of trust is breaking down. The ability to have a conversation with someone who's of the opposite political persuasion as you has broken down to the worst point it's ever been. Obviously, I think, and the internet obviously exacerbates that. Also, that it's kind of it's a confluence of all of these different things. But the Lyceum is saying, hey, here's a way for us to proactively go into that world and try to resurrect some of that. I look at my Rotary Club as a civic organization where people from different walks of life, right? So we have people who are Christians and Jews and non-believers. We have Republicans and Democrats, but we're getting together over something that is bigger than ourselves, right? But to getting together and have community together. Well, this is like on that same level, but way maybe higher or deeper because of the fact that it's based into we're literally diving into these ideas of how are we supposed to be living together? What is the best life? And so I think that's what excites me about the Lyceum. So can you give us some highlights of some of the events or some of the things you guys have talked about maybe in the past year or so?
Well, just on that note, I would say this kind of touches really well with one of our most recent events was on civility. And one of the things that came up in the conversation was that, over the Thanksgiving dinner table, most of us don't like to talk about politics or, a lot of other controversial things. And our goal is not necessarily to get everybody talking about elections over their holidays, but rather to create a space where people feel empowered and comfortable to do that. So, we don't need everybody to go around talking about philosophy all the time, but we're trying to provide a venue that's dedicated for that. And then if people want to talk about it over Thanksgiving, they can. But like I mentioned earlier, we've had two really well-received events on artificial intelligence, which I know everybody's probably sick of hearing about at this point. So we tried to take an interesting run at it, which was not, is AI going to turn into Skynet and destroy the planet, but more, how do we think about how this fits into our lives?
The answer yes? Was the answer yes? You can just tell me. That'd be great to know.
Well, we think, on an infinite time scale, probably, but we've but we've got, there are a lot of practical questions like how is artificial intelligence going to disrupt people's jobs? How is it going to empower people's jobs? But also personally, you think about what smartphones have done for us, and we tried to think about AI in that context? Is this good? Is it bad? And of course, the answer is probably mixed. But what kinds of habits can we try to encourage in ourselves and our families, our neighbors, and our community to try to help build a more flourishing community?
Okay, so that was I had to go that way because to me, that's a legit question I ask all the time, and I was the one who in the '90s is like, this is how this is like. Haven't you guys seen how this plays out? All the movies have said how this is going to play out, and so we're getting there. So, are you the AI one? What were some of the other highlights?
We've had a couple on democracy, on local democracy, civic democracy. We had the mayor of Urbandale along with the political philosopher. So that was, I think, a unique opportunity to get. I kind of thought of it like theorist meets practitioner. It's not often you get a local elected official talking with a philosopher about justice. And that kind of models, I think, some of the best of what we tried to do with the Lyceum. One of our most well-received events, actually, I mentioned already, was our launch event a couple of years back, which was, what is Iowa nice? And there's not a lot of other places I think you can get into that conversation where we have a historian, a journalist, and the Iowa nice guy together to talk about that question.
I want to get in here for a little bit for the festival ideas coming up, but even before that, I'm going to get ahead of myself here. We talk about the great events you guys are hosting, and I'm going to miss both of them, unfortunately. But I think it's important for our listeners to know I'm going to be out of town in September when you guys have the great ideas, Aristotle, and the Being Good, and it's on Saturday, September 28th. That's just an example of one of the things you guys are doing. It's 10 a.m. to noon. I can think of no better way to spend a Saturday morning than exploring the ideas of Aristotle through an expert, right? So, incredible opportunity. So, first off, I'm going to say it multiple times, go to lyceummovement.org. Just go to the Des Moines Lyceum, look it up. Yeah, the events are great, and we are blessed to have this. Similar to how I say, and I have not talked about this in the radio show, but we have Dr. Marion Scott, who's taken over at St. Augustine's. He and his wife, Rosa, have put on these incredible concerts, these incredible orchestra concerts that are taking place at St. Augustine's. I'm like, we are so lucky to have this. We need to be there to support this because it's really, if we don't, they go away. It's the same kind of thing with Lyceum. Like, we are blessed to have this, and I want to encourage people to go. So, anyway, just a little plug there for the 28th, this idea of exploring Aristotle through the experts. But prior to that, we have the Festival of Ideas. What is the Festival of Ideas?
It is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. We get together for a good time and to talk about cool stuff. That's to oversimplify it, but it's really, I think, a really exciting, amazing opportunity. I don't think there's really anything else in Des Moines like it, but we are kind of taking our normal model of programming and then turning it up to 11. So we've got both the best of our local experts and renowned national speakers. Maybe I'll just mention a few of them if that's okay, just to give people an idea of what we'll be doing. But so for folks who've heard of the Diagnostics Manual of Statistics, it's like the handbook for psychiatric evaluation and diagnosis. We've got the guy who wrote the book on that, Dr. Abraham Nussbaum, which might be particularly interesting to your listeners. He's got a background in psychology and a doctorate in theology, a really brilliant guy, and he's going to come talk to us about mental health and putting that in a kind of theological, spiritual perspective, as well as a clinical one. So that's just, an example of the kind of blending of expertise that, you can't get anywhere else. We're bringing back the Wisdom of Crowds podcast to talk about the theme of Hope for America. So for people who went last year, we got, wonderful reception there. We'll be doing a live taping. The guys at Wisdom of Crowds are awesome. A lot of overlap with our mission, and it's a cool opportunity to produce a podcast. So you'll be there. You'll be part of the conversation. You get the opportunity to jump in and engage with the experts there. We've got a artistic performance. We're still, I think, nailing down the details, but we've got a great local artist, Be Well, of the Be Well Foundation, and you can find his music if you look him up on Spotify. We've got, food trucks and beer, of course. It wouldn't be a Lyceum event if we didn't have, some good food and drink. So that's just a taste of what we'll be doing. We've got, neuroscience, politics, psychology. We've got all of it. And
so the dates of it are, it's August 9th and 10th. What can I expect from it sounds like the Friday the 9th is kind of an evening. Because there's maybe a talk and discussion, food truck, beer that night. and the next day is kind of a full-on day of activities, correct?
That's right. So it's happening over 2 days. That was some feedback we got from last year was we want more of it. We want more of tall grass, and we want more opportunities to go. So it's August 9th and 10th. That's Friday and Saturday. We'll start 5:30 p.m. on Friday. Saturday, we'll pick up again at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you want to attend, you need to buy tickets beforehand. You can buy them at the door, but I encourage people to do it now so you can get a discount. So we're selling tickets for Friday or for Saturday, or if you want to buy for both, you get the full weekend pass, you get a discount. And again, you can do that at our website. Maybe I'll tell everybody how to spell that just in case you're not familiar with English translations of Greek words. But so it's lyceummovement.org. That's LYCEUM, Lyceum Movement, MOVEMENT.org.
I think you underestimate how brilliant my audience is here. I mean, you forget how highbrow everyone here is.
It's not your audience. It's more about their friends and family that they're going to share this episode with when they hear about it. You gotta hear this.
This is for the people that are this is being forwarded on to a bunch of people who are not nearly as smart as my regular listening audience. So also locations downtown. It's the shop on Friday, and then it is where on Saturday it's at Gravitate, right?
Saturday be the same location, so 901 Cherry Street downtown. Yeah, cool. It's the for the Des Moines audience, it's the old social club building behind Malo.
Yeah, and so last year I had the opportunity, and my schedule, believe it or not, with all of my 6 kids is not super open all the time. But I made sure during nap time I swung down there for probably 2 hours or so, and it was right in the middle of you guys have your kind of philosophy contest where people they submitted essays, and you guys we voted on, and they read them, and it was really awesome. And this was like the least expert part of the whole thing. That's just people having a discussion. But the point was, it was just really fun to sit around a table with other people and discuss these ideas. And so it gave me a taste of what's going on at the Lyceum. And I'm like, man, this is something that I'd like to see. I'd like to see this thing grow and grow and grow because it's so needed in today's society. And again, I was super bummed when I saw the date because I'm going to be of all places, I'm in Yellowstone, so it's not horrible. But that weekend, because I'm looking at the list of all the great stuff you guys have, and I was obviously I have a serious FOMO already knowing how great it's going to be. So I just want to make sure my listeners know to get there. And if you can only make Friday night, or you can only make Saturday, or you can only pop in for an hour or two here and there, it's worth it. And your money is going to a good cause. So you should absolutely, if you can and for any amount of time, swing in there. So with that, Joe, other maybe final thoughts here, other encouragement you have for people when it comes to the Lyceum movement, ways they can get involved?
Yeah, I'd say the consistent trend across the 2+ years we've been operating is even if people don't totally understand what it is coming in, we are very accessible. We work hard to be hospitable and welcoming. I have never had somebody walk away feeling like their time was wasted. And, we mentioned the word philosophy. Maybe people like you and me and your listeners, Joe, might be kind of afraid of that word. They hear, ooh, philosophy. I don't know if I can do that. And it's what we do every single time. And people come out of it feeling like, wow, that was fun. I didn't realize that was, that you can do what you mentioned at the festival, get together with your neighbors and just talk about stuff. It's a lot of fun. We've had a lot of repeat guests and friends of the Lyceum. We've had people tell us wonderful things about how they're so proud that this is founded here in the city. We've even had people who met at the Lyceum who later got married. So you never know exactly what you're in for. But if it sounds like, I don't know, a festival of ideas, maybe that's kind of dry. I promise it's not. It's warm. It's fun. It's lively. It's inviting, and the people just want to keep the conversation going. Well, that's always our biggest problem at our events. People just want to keep talking with each other.
As G.K. Testerson said, politics and religion, what else is there to talk about? So you guys do a good job of making sure we can do just that. Well, Joe, thanks for joining me today on Man Up. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Joe.
Thanks.
I hope to see all of your listeners at
every person who's listening to this, you will see them there. No question.
That's great.
No question. Awesome, man. We're heading to a short break, and we'll be right back.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from independent realtor Chris Foster. Chris has served clients with everything real estate throughout Iowa since 2019. 641-891-8178 or online at the 4saleia.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences, where you can chart your course for more.
Mercy College provides unparalleled clinical rotations, hands-on learning, accelerated education, and flexible schedules. Since 1899, Mercy College has been transforming students into healthcare professionals. Guided by Catholic values, our faculty put classroom theory into practice. Students are prepared for roles in service and leadership throughout their own careers.
Learn more at mchs.edu. Mercy College of Health Sciences, mchs.edu.
Does your financial portfolio benefit from abortion, contraception, human cloning, or embryonic stem cell research? Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors offers investment products that are Catholic screened and designed for faith-based investors. Contact an advisor at 844-493-4010 or visit kfcassetadvisors.org to learn more about how you can seek to align your faith and finances. Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors is an SCC registered investment advisor. Investment products are not guaranteed and may lose value. Thank you, Advisor Gregory Waddle, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Dino Storage, 2725 2nd Avenue in Des Moines, offering monthly rentals, indoor climate-controlled storage, and package delivery to your unit. Learn more at dinostorage.com.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Edible Arrangements, for their support, offering fruit bouquets and gourmet dip chocolate treats. On the go or have it delivered for that special occasion, ediblearrangements.com.
From Saylorville to Stewart and everywhere at iowacatholicradio.com or the Iowa Catholic Radio app. Listener-supported Iowa Catholic Radio, connecting listeners to Christ.
My help comes from you. You're right here.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. My thanks again to Joe Carroll for joining me for that interview. Please go register lyceummovement.org. Again, it will be worth your time. It's like I said with men's conferences, right? We're in the middle of the planning stage for the next men's conference. It'll hopefully, it looks like it's going to be March of 2025. That said, my thoughts on men's conferences have always been, if it's a full day and you can only make it for one or two speakers, same thing with Christ Our Life coming up here in September, same thing with the Festival of Ideas. If you can only make it for one little segment or one speaker, first off, these are good causes, right? So don't think of the money on $20, $30, whatever it costs. I would think of it as you're supporting a good cause, but then B, whatever time you can spend there will be edifying. It just is. These are things that we are lucky to have in Des Moines, Iowa. We're lucky to have these. Many other communities don't have anything like this. They don't have a Christ Our Life conference. They don't have men's conferences. They don't have lyceums. But we do. And so it's incumbent upon us, if we like having these things, to go and support them. It's good to help grow the movements, and it's also good for us as individuals to step outside of our comfort zones and to explore these ideas. So again, I just encourage you to go to the website, tell your friends about it, and hopefully we can continue to grow this, that they have to find a bigger space next year, a bigger space the following year, and we grow this community of people in Des Moines who are open to having conversations, not just sticking into our same political or ideological groups, but expanding those and having conversations of consequence. And that's what the Lyceum does. Thanks for joining me today on Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. I am Joe Stopulos. It is time to man up.
Man Up, inspiring men to live out their call to holiness.